Companion gluten species. The domestication. Gluten's domestication versus dog domestication. Or maybe a featuring. When was gluten domesticated? 20,000 years ago. When were dogs domesticated? 40,000 years ago. Les chiens domestiques et la digestion des céréales. Dogs were wolves. Wolves they probably got taken when they were puppies and got trained and used by Homo sapiens to hunt. Wolves eat meat they hunt down. These wolves learned to stay near men, and as humans got more and more sedentary and started domesticating plants and grains, wolves became dogs. They changed their bone structure and their metabolism became able to digest cereals and derivatives, as much as bones and cartilagine. Since they were being nourished by groups of Homo sapiens with the discharge from their meals, they were obliged to change their diet or they would have died because of the impossibility to join a pack of wolves suite à leur changement physique. More surprising were the finds on dogs' genes for digesting starch. Dogs had 4 to 30 copies of the gene for amylase, a protein that starts the breaking down of starch in the intestines. Wolves have only 2 copies, one on each chromosome. As the result, that gene was 28-fold more active in dogs, the researcher found. This study suggests that dogs are different from wolves and don't need a wolf-like diet, he says. They have co-evolved with humans and their diet. Did a wild dog ever even exist? If wet grains have been separated from the wild pears, could they ever regain their wilderness? Have wheat changed so much it became someone else? If les changements physicals surely engendraient des changements psychologiques, did gluten change otherwise than genetically after being breeded? Is there a psyche to digestion, and especially to digest gluten? Is there any difference in the ability of digesting a plante sauvage plutôt qu'à plante domestique, as much as gibier versus steak haché? What are we capable of achieving once we interact with domestic gluten? Can we make it behave? We can give it a name like we name a pet. Does it keep us company? Cereal taxonomy. The role of domestication and breeding in gluten intolerance. Cereals are the domestic variants for the species from the Graminae family. Wheat can very well adapt to different environments. Also, its dung is the only one with very high viscoelastic properties, because it entraps a lot of CO2 during fermentation. Its domestication began during the agricultural revolution in the Near East in the Fertile Crescent Zone. It has an incredible genetic variability which led to the development of around 20,000 different wheat types. In the Mediterranean region, wheat cultivation is linked to its farrow transformation and consumption. We used to eat it in a porridge-like elaboration. Bread is one of the most elaborated forms, and its first reference go back to 4,600 years ago. Baking process and fermentation was already developed by ancient Egypt. Since we started using machines to work the dough and bake, we were obligated to select wheat with very specific characteristics. It had to be able to handle mechanical work and overmixing, which is not like any manual process. An increased frequency of celiac disease has been observed. Modern plant breeding led to criticism to the new cereal varieties, giving them responsibility for the worsening of data. Before its domestication, wheat went through an hybridization. The final result was hexaploid wheat. In the 20th century, modern varieties were selected through the trigger CD have no adaptive value. If the toxicity of wheat was increased during the process of domestication and breeding, this would have been made unconsciously. Unconsciously by humans or unconsciously by gluten? Did we domesticate gluten or did it domesticate us? From Yuval Noah Harari's book Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. 10,000 years ago, wheat was just one of many wild grasses, confined to a small patch in the Middle East. Wheat has become one of the most successful plants in the history of Earth. Worldwide, wheat covers about 2.25 million square kilometers of the globe's surface. The claim of this document is that wheat manipulated us. Up until then, humans have lived quite comfortably as hunters and gatherers. Within a couple of millennia, humans in many parts of the world were doing little from dawn to dusk other than taking care of wheat plants. It wasn't easy. Wheat demanded a lot of them. Wheat didn't like rocks and pebbles, so sapiens broke their back clearing fields. Wheat didn't like sharing its space, water, and nutrient with other plants, so men and women labored long days weeding under the scorching sun. We guarded and protected wheat from insects, blights, and bunny rabbits. We dug ditches and carried buckets of water to irrigate it and collect animal poop for fertilizer. This has profound effects on humanity, not least of which wheat forced us to stop wandering and to instead settle permanently next to our fields. Instead of depending on myriad food sources and species, we often got stuck with a single staple such as wheat, which is poor in minerals and vitamins, hard to digest, and really bad for your teeth and gums. Conclusion. Harari points out the word domesticate comes from Latin domus, meaning house. Who is the one living in a house, he asks. Not the wheat, it's us. But is it? Aren't we maybe housemates? Flour was one of the most consumed food of this last quarantine year. While preparing the residency, we started looking for expired and damaged flour packs, calling boulangeries, ateliers de panification, supermarkets. Most of them told us this year they have not really had the chance to throw much flour away since the consumptions got bigger. The more time we have at home, the more we bake, the more gluten is at home. Mulino Bianco is one of the most famous biscuits and breakfast marca in Italy. Maybe the Mulino is the gluten house, and maybe what is really dominus is the habitation, in the sense of habit, habiter, living. Are we and gluten living together? Is it serious? Did we get into the habits of inhabit together? Grains were consumed during the domestication of dogs. Dogs' learned ability to digest gluten helped its own domestication. Did domesticated dog help domesticating gluten?